James Cameron, many years from now, will be seen as the man who made two of the best movie sequels ever. Avatar 15 and 20, I mean Aliens and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Both movies are very well made, with a lot of good things to say about them, and have stood the test of time despite being over 30 years old. And by looking closer, we can see what makes Aliens and Terminator 2 such good sequels. Despite being very good movies, it's pretty clear that when you look at them closely, the writing process for both films involved looking at the original, copying much of what took place, and then making changes here and there. For this video essay, I'm using the director's cuts of Aliens and Terminator 2. Both include significant number of scenes not in the theatrical cuts that expand upon character development, so not including those scenes, in my opinion, weakens both movies. So both movies start with a spaceship introduced in the future, and Alan Ripley and all its other occupants are all in hypersleep. Ripley learns she isn't where or when she was planning to be.
Some of you may have figured out we're not home yet. We're only halfway there. Mother's interrupted the course of our journey. She's programmed to do that should certain conditions arise. They have.
I mean, I don't recognize this place.
It's just that this might be a shock to you. It's long.
How long?
57 years.
What?
The crew of the spaceship has breakfast and a plot twist takes place.
What's the matter? The food ain't that bad, baby.
I thought you never missed, Bishop.
You never said anything about an android being on board. Why not?
The engineer spacecraft is discovered and investigated on orders of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and then someone's infected by a facehugger, which then leads to a chestburster. The crew encounters a fully grown alien and the death toll starts to climb. A worker for the company is revealed to be on a secret mission that jeopardizes the crew.
Bring back life form. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded.
He figured that he could get an alien back through quarantine if one of us was impregnated.
The crew uses flamethrowers and motion tracking devices. The motion tracking devices are really nifty because it allows for the alien's presence to be hinted at without directly showing them. It's really great for building suspense. But in both films, they fail to account for three-dimensional space.
Oh, God, it's moving right towards you. Way the other way, God!
Dallas?
6.
Can't be. That's inside the room.
Now eventually the crew has to escape an imminent self-destruction.
That's it.
How long till it blows?
4 hours.
Danger. The emergency destruct system is now activated.
Attention. Emergency. All personnel must evacuate immediately.
And Ripley has to run around like corridors with a flamethrower, carrying a small, helpless companion. Then the crew escapes this explosion in the nick of time, and light fills the window of their ship when it happens. And then there's a surprise fourth act, as Ridley Scott calls it, where the alien sneaks on board their ship, like you think everything's sorted out, and then bam, alien shows up. Ripley then sneaks into another room, puts on a suit, and then throws the alien out into space, and then the last shot is her asleep. So both are clearly very similar in structure, repeated imagery, repeated ideas. But they're both completely different types of movie, because Alien's very much a slow burn, like haunted house thing in space. And then you get Aliens, and it's, you know, an action movie. There's action set pieces and explosions and guns and way more aliens, which means there's way more aliens killed on screen. At no point watching Alien do you like fist pump or go yeah when there's an awesome one-liner. So Alien is a horror movie meant to make you frightened, but Aliens is like an action thriller designed to make you excited.
Magnificent, isn't it?
So Terminator and Terminator 2 both start with an introduction of the future and then opening credits. But then two time travelers arrive from the future to the present day. One is sent to terminate John Connor and ensure he never becomes a leader of the human resistance. The other doesn't want that to happen.
Your clothes. Give them to me, now.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Fuck you, asshole!
And the Terminator's target is a seemingly unimportant person who's in a rut in their life. Characters are initially unsure which time traveler is which, until they have a shootout in a public meeting place, which then reveals who the true protector and the true assassin is, which then leads to a chase in stolen vehicles. The protector explains to their target about the future, while their more technologically advanced pursuer is now going after them.
But there was one man. He brought us back from the brink. Your son, Sarah.
My mission is to protect you.
Who sent you?
You did. 35 years from now, you reprogrammed me to be your protector here, in this time.
This is deep.
The Terminator's an infiltration unit. Part man, part machine.
You mean more advanced than you are?
Yes, and mimetic polyalloy.
What the hell does that mean?
Liquid metal.
The assassin then tries to kill Sarah Connor while she is in a supposedly secure facility. Dr. Silverman is working in both places. A chase on the highway leads to the pursuer stealing a truck. The truck gets wiped out. The chase continues to an empty industrial workplace both times. The pursuer is seemingly defeated, only to return, but it gets damaged. And then in this high-speed chase earlier, one of the humans is shot and he's held moving through the industrial workplace, but then makes a heroic stand against the Terminator. And then the bad Terminator is destroyed right before it can complete its mission, and then there's a noble self-sacrifice involved both times. And both times it's really heartbreaking, like it's really sad, people cry. And both movies end with Sarah Connor pressing a button on a control panel to destroy a Terminator, and then she drives off into an uncertain future. So again, heaps of similarities.
Get out.
Come with me if you want to live.
I love you, Sarah. I always will.
I love you. I always have.
I love you, John. I always have. I know.
But again, they're two very different movies, even though there's a lot of copied elements. So the Terminator is way creepier, because it's an ordinary human being facing a terrifying robot. And Terminator 2 has like big heroic moments, and the T-800 does badass things that a human can't do, like carrying the minigun around and punching through walls. So the Terminator is focused on the pursuit, while Terminator 2 has this big detour as the heroes attempt to thwart Judgment Day and stop Armageddon from happening. And Terminator is this grimy 80s slasher movie with a very limited budget, whereas Terminator 2 is this huge budget, really awesome special effects and action sequences, like it still holds up. And both are sci-fi action movies with elements of horror, but the Terminator leans towards horror, and Terminator 2 leans more towards the action.
Wait, no, it's too hot. Go back.
So both movies have like an android that seems shifty. So you get Ash in Alien, who you don't even find out he's an android until later in the movie in a plot twist. Whereas in Aliens, you find out that Bishop is an android in his first scene. And Ripley is very distrustful of him, and so is the audience, because I remember what happened with Ash.
You never said anything about an android being on board. Why not?
It's common practice. We always have a synthetic on board.
I prefer the term artificial person myself. It is impossible for me to harm or by a mission of action allow to be harmed a human being.
Just stay away from me, Bishop. You got that straight?
Bishop is then seen like creepily dissecting a facehugger and admiring it, and it's very clearly meant to make you think, oh man, he's clearly suspect. He loves the alien just like Ash did. But while Ash is revealed to be a villain in a plot twist, Bishop is revealed to be a hero in a plot twist.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
I guess we can just count you out of everything.
That's right, man. Hey, why don't you go, man?
What?
I'll go. I mean, I'm the only one qualified to remote pilot the ship anyway. Believe me, I'd prefer not to. I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid.
They both get torn up, but Ash gets torn up and it's like, ha 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 ha. But then Bishop gets torn up and it's like, no, not cool Lance Henriksen, man. In both movies, there's a sinister agent secretly working for the company. In Alien, it's Ash, but in Aliens, it's Burke. And just like how there's the twist involving Bishop, which relies heavily on you distrusting him based on seeing Ash in the first movie, the Burke twist also works because at first Burke seems very nice. He's very supportive of Ripley, he's very nice to her, and then slowly you realize, oh, he's a really sketchy businessman, isn't he? And then bam, it turns out he's a sinister guy working for Weyland-Yutani. The audience is distracted by Bishop. They don't even think that Burke could be bad until it's too late. And then there's a second twist, because in Aliens there's a sequence where Bishop flies Ripley over to the hive to rescue Newt, and Ripley emerges and Bishop has left. And you and Ripley think, oh man, Bishop was untrustworthy the whole time.
Bishop! God damn you!
And then of course he turns out again to be heroic. And the audience is like, oh man, I thought he was bad. So both Alien and Aliens open with Ripley waking up in literally the wrong place and the wrong time. The crew of the Nostromo gets woken up because they detect this signal that's of extraterrestrial origin. And so they've woken up at a different place than they're expecting to. Then you get Aliens, the Narcissus, which is the escape shuttle that's got Ripley and the cat on it, Jones. It gets found by salvagers, and Ripley thought she'd be in there for 6 weeks, and then get to the frontier. Instead, it's been 57 years. So in Alien, they wake up and it's the start of a mysterious journey, but in Aliens, it's a horrible, tragic incident, and it's a big part of why Ripley is so traumatized, and why it's such a tragedy she needs to overcome.
Do you have any news about my daughter?
Amanda Ripley McLaren, age 66. And that was at the time of her death.
I promised her that I would be home for her birthday. Her 11th birthday.
So there's a lot of sometimes subtle and sometimes very in-your-face themes related to sex and reproduction in Alien and Aliens. Well, the whole series, really. The ship's computer, it's pronounced mother. I don't know why it's written that way. According to Ridley Scott, the scene where Ash penetrates Mother was meant to explore the idea of whether or not robots could experience sexuality. So again, because Kane gets quote-unquote raped by the facehugger and impregnated with an alien, and Ash tries to shove a pornographic magazine down Ripley's throat, and he's dripping a white liquid as well. Like, it's very clearly meant to be evocative of a sexual assault and sexual violence, just like how the facehugger attacking Kane and the chestburster erupting through him is meant to represent those things as well. So Ridley Scott in the book The Alien Vault says that this scene is the closest he ever gets to a sexual relationship. In Aliens, the emphasis is less on interstellar rape, and it's on a battle between two mothers. So this battle pitches the kind and nurturing Ripley against the alien queen, which is this horrifying monster whose idea of reproduction is like a sick and twisted parody of human sex and birth.
Isn't that how babies come? I mean, people babies, they go inside you.
No, that's very different.
Did you ever have a baby?
Yes, I did. I had a little girl.
Where is she?
She's gone.
And the two of them are fighting over the possession of the young girl Newt. So Ripley wants to love and protect Newt, while the Queen wants to impregnate Newt with her spawn and create more aliens. Newt is essentially Ripley's new daughter, and she isn't going to lose her to the alien like she lost Amanda. She even goes into the alien hive in order to rescue her, despite Newt being captured to be used as a host, and with the colony's nuclear reactor about to explode, and with Ripley already having a chance to escape and save herself, but she goes in to rescue Newt, because that's what a mother would do.
Ripley?
I don't want to hear about it, Bishop. She's alive. There's still time.
In 19 minutes, this area is going to be a cloud of vapor the size of Nebraska.
Hicks, don't let him leave.
We ain't going anywhere.
Alien takes everything away from Ripley, and then she gets it back in Aliens. And the last shot of Alien is of Ripley and Jones, the cat, so that's all she's got. But then Aliens, it's Ripley and Newt, so in effect her new daughter. And Ripley survives not alone with just a cat for company, but with her new surrogate family. She's got Newt, she's got Hicks, she's got Bishop, who's like a cool uncle. And she doesn't just have a physical victory, blowing up the aliens and destroying the engineer spacecraft that has all their eggs in it, but it's a spiritual one because she's faced her demons and regained a relationship with a daughter figure. So both the Terminator and Terminator 2 have Sarah Connor trapped in a place she doesn't want to be, feeling like her life isn't going anywhere. But it's a very different context in both movies. In the Terminator, she's working a horrible waitress job that she hates. But then you get in Terminator 2, she's trapped in a mental asylum, Because on one hand, she has become dangerous and violent and tried to blow up a computer factory and is paranoid. But on the other hand, no one believes her true knowledge of what will come to the future in Judgment Day. Both movies essentially revolve around her escaping this horrible situation and becoming something bigger. In both movies, the person trying to kill John Connor is more advanced than the person trying to protect John Connor. So in The Terminator, Kyle Reese is a normal human being, while the Terminator is a highly advanced Terminator. T-800, Model 101. Then in Terminator 2, a different Model 101 is now the Protector, and then an even more advanced Terminator is trying to destroy it. So in both cases, it's like an uphill battle. It's the underdog trying to go up against something, really scary. So in The Terminator, the villainous T-800 starts wearing punk clothes, but then he changes to leather and wears sunglasses. And then he takes a motorcycle. In Terminator 2, the heroic T-800 begins wearing leather and sunglasses and rides a motorbike. So he looks exactly the same as the Terminator in the first movie. So it makes Sarah and the authorities freaking out that he's come back. And then it makes Sarah even more terrified when she encounters it for the first time. But then the T-800 loses its sunglasses and motorcycle and it goes the rest of the movie without them. So a very simple visual, but it shows he initially appears villainous, but then proves itself heroic. And it even learns human values after it gets reset to learn mode.
Now you gotta promise me you're not gonna kill anyone, right?
Right. He'll live. I'll take you off the police.
Hey, wait, you swore!
Trust me. Hasta la vista, baby.
In both movies, there's a scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger breaks into a place to find Sarah Connor, but in The Terminator, it breaks into the police station to kill her, but then in Terminator 2, it breaks into the mental hospital to rescue her from the T-1000. In both movies, he has to face heaps of cops, but in The Terminator, he's slaughtering them and they can't stop him. But then in Terminator 2, it's like this really awesome heroic thing. So by the way, casualties means killed and injured. So that means that none of the cops was even hurt by this minigun, which is kind of hard to believe, but yeah. So in the first movie, Sarah is the unwitting target of an assassin with knowledge of future events who wants to kill her because of something she'll do that she hasn't done yet.
This is a mistake. I didn't do anything.
No, but you will.
And in Terminator 2, Sarah becomes an assassin who tries to kill someone, not because of what they've done, but because of what they will do. I love this. It's like she has become the thing she hated, right? She even dresses in black and wears dark glasses when she sets off to kill Dyson.
I need to know how Skynet gets built.
The man most directly responsible is Miles Bennett Dyson. In a few months, he creates a revolutionary type of microprocessor.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! It's all your fault! Motherfucker, it's all your fault! What? I'm not gonna let you do it.
And I love this reversal so much because when she looks him in the eye, she can't do it, right? Despite having PTSD and horrible nightmares, and despite knowing that killing him will stop a nuclear war, she can't do it because unlike a Terminator, she can feel pity, remorse, and fear. And it shows that no matter how hard she gets pushed, she still has that innate goodness in her. And in a similar way, in the first movie, Sarah Connor is the target, and Kyle Reese is her protector and mentor, but then in Terminator 2, Sarah Connor is now the mentor to John. And so she ends up adopting a lot of roles Reese had in that movie. So she's the one who's tough and cool and skilled at fighting, but with the emotional side and having the nightmares. And then both movies end with Sarah Connor pressing a button to destroy a Terminator. In the first movie, Kyle Reese takes on the Terminator with a pipe and a bomb, gets beaten up, dies using the bomb on the Terminator. And then the Terminator pursues Sarah until she lures it into a hydraulic press and crushes it. In Terminator 2, the T-1000's been dealt with, but now the T-800 has realized that because it's still around, it could potentially be reverse engineered to make Skynet. So it must be destroyed also. And Sarah, who initially feared and mistrusted it to the point of trying to destroy it, now shakes its hand and destroys it because it asks her to. So both endings are similar, but both are very, very different. This has great effect because you can see the change that has happened in Sarah Connor. She destroys the Terminator in the first movie, but then has to set off to face this horrible future that will come to pass. In the second movie, she destroys the Terminator, but can now look forward to the future instead of being afraid of it. The second movie ends with Sarah having the closure, just like Ripley in Aliens does.
The unknown future rolls toward us. I face it for the first time with a sense of hope.
Here we get the big elephant in the room, but Tin Man. If I like Aliens and Terminator 2, should I watch all the sequels after it? I mean, yeah, sure, go for it. Some of them are okay. Basically, both films had sequels by people who aren't James Cameron, and they both have massive problems. You had Alien 3 and Terminator 3 both try to follow up from what happened in Aliens and Terminator 2, and in the process both severely undermined their predecessors. So Alien and Aliens is a complete story, Terminator and Terminator 2 is a complete story. And you can't really do a sequel with the same characters without undoing that story. And you can't really follow up on what happened because their character arcs are complete. So Ripley's faced her fear and conquered the alien, and united with a new surrogate daughter. Sarah Connor has faced her fear, saved humanity, and reunited with her son. Both series found it very hard to move beyond the first two. Alien 3 has the alien follow Ripley to a new planet, Fury 161. And then Alien Resurrection states that with the alien's death there, the species was wiped out. So apparently the only aliens in the entire galaxy were like on LV-426, which I think is really bad world building. And then you got Terminator 3, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator Dark Fate, all involve time-traveling Arnold Schwarzeneggers from different alternate futures. And it's like, you could have done an Alien 3 with a completely new cast, or a Terminator 3 with a completely new cast. But they wanted the name recognition of Sigourney Weaver and the name recognition of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator actually does a much better job, because Predator and all its sequels have different casts from film to film. And I actually really like the first 3 Predator movies. And I think a big strength they have is that it's a different cast every time, because you get to see different types of people face the Predator. You did get Terminator Salvation, trying new things, and the Alien vs. Predator and Prometheus movies. Those movies have issues of their own. There's some positives in some of them, but... So Alien 3 alienated many fans because it kills off Hicks and Newt, and then sort of kills off Bishop in the opening credits. So you're left wondering, well, what was the point of watching Aliens then if I know they're going to die off immediately? They try to undo Aliens and go back to a movie like Alien. It's one thing to say, well, this isn't some storybook fairy tale, it's a dark sci-fi setting full of horrible things happening to people. But that ignores the fact that in a story, we follow the characters and their struggles. To see Ripley descend into what could be hell, and return with Newt and defeat the aliens is immensely cathartic. To undo it mostly off-screen in the opening credits isn't just cheap, but it undoes a previously satisfying moment. It's why killing off John Connor in the opening of Terminator Dark Fate angered so many people. Now, Alien 3 does have its fans, because it does all these new things and all these different things, because it has the dark tone, because it is about grief and loss. Personally, I find that I can only enjoy Alien 3 if I ignore Aliens, and act like it's its own little movie. Alien 3's production was like really messed up, and the theatrical cut is a bit of a mess. There is a special version called the Assembly Cut. It's not the director's cut, because David Fincher wants nothing to do with it. And it is a better movie. There actually are a lot of cool things to say about it. There's a lot of really interesting camera angles. There's Charles Dance is in it. Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, is in it. The actors are actually really good in it. The prison sets, some of them are quite large and expansive. It's clear they put a lot of money into them. There's an interesting paradox, because you have the alien is this terrifying monster that like comes out of people. And it's this parody of human birth and sex. And then Ripley shows up as a woman, and all these inmates see her as like this evil and this monster because of their bizarre form of Christianity that they practice. The alien suit actually looks really good. I really like the alien suit in Alien 3. Tom Woodruff Jr. has played the alien in 4 movies, and he's really great in them. But then you get the rod puppet, which isn't blended in very well with the sets, and yeah, the suit looks way better. But it's a needlessly dark tone. The fact that almost all of the characters are violent, dangerous prison inmates who did horrible, despicable things makes it very hard to feel much sympathy for any of them.
Well, you don't want to know me, lady. I'm a murderer and rapist of women.
You do have the Dylan character.
You son of a bitch.
Played by Charles Dutton. He actually is well written and has a very commanding presence as the leader of the prisoners, even though he did horrible things in the past. But the other prisoners don't get that much screen time or that much good writing. So you're left with this miasma of like horrible people who all kind of look the same, dying in corridors that all look the same. Alien 3 does the classic horror movie move of, it's getting kind of boring, put an attack scene here. And then it just kills off someone the audience doesn't know or barely knows at all. While most of the Marines in Aliens aren't well established and are killed off about halfway through the movie doesn't feel the need to pepper on additional attack scenes in the first half. In Aliens, the cast is brought down to a manageable number of just 8 characters, and all of them are easily distinguishable from one another, and all are different from one another, so you have an interesting chemistry going on. Alien 3 has a lot of faceless prisoners in the background that all blur together. Also, why the hell do you kill Charles Dance halfway in the movie? What a waste.
It's starting hot! Hit the sprinklers!
And Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machines, also kind of fails as a sequel because it undoes the first two. A big point of Terminator 2 is that there's no fate for what you make for yourself. Judgment Day is now inevitable though. So Dyson died for nothing. John Connor and Sarah Connor can't stop Judgment Day. And the intention is very clear. They're going to keep making Terminator movies and they're going to keep have Skynet send Terminators back in time. So Terminator 2 copies Terminator 1, as seen in this video. Terminator 3 also copies Terminator 2, but is really blatant. It's a very overt copy, but its faults don't come from being a copy, its faults come from being extraneous. And the new things that it does introduce aren't as creative. So just for some examples, the TX can control machines and computers, but she just gains information from it, which the Terminators could already do. And she does reprogram Arnold Schwarzenegger, but then Arnold Schwarzenegger breaks her programming, so it's like, that was fun for 5 minutes. You do have the T1s, which are like prototype Terminators, they're these big robots, but they're only in a couple scenes. You could cut out the TX's ability to control machines from the movie, and it's changed very little. It's just an excuse to say that this new Terminator is deadlier than ever, it's really dangerous. So when Terminator 2 copies the Terminator, it's putting old characters and things and plot beats in new context. Sarah trying to kill Miles Dyson has the impact it does because it shows that in her desperation that Sarah nearly becomes the very thing that tried to kill her in the first movie. Terminator 3 copies Terminator 2 because Terminator 2 made a lot of money. This is the movie where the Terminator becomes the butt of jokes, saying silly things for the audience to laugh at. It's a big misunderstanding of the Terminator's one-liners in Terminator 2.
Kennel in a cage. You said that you'd let me go.
I lied.
Tell her who I am.
John Connor is leader of the worldwide resistance and last best hope of humankind. Your confusion is not rational. She's a healthy female of breeding age.
I think there's a little more to it than that.
My database does not encompass the dynamics of human pair bonding. Your levity is good. It relieves tension and the fear of death.
In Terminator 2, the Terminator is learning how to be human, which leads to its heroic sacrifice in the end. In Terminator 3, the Terminator is a super serious robot all the time while saying and doing funny things on accident. It's actually very similar to what happened to RoboCop in RoboCop 3. He's a mindless robot who doesn't even acknowledge pain anymore. So Terminator 3 feels like it was made by a cargo cult. So in World War II you had these Pacific Islanders that were so enraptured by American servicemen's technology. They saw them as gods. And then the Americans left, the people on these islands really wanted the gods to come back. So they'd copy the way they dressed and behaved and tried to signal aircraft to land, not understanding what they were doing. They just copied something they saw. So they knew what something looked like and what it could do, but they had zero understanding of how it functions or what it does to be special. So they just copy the way it looks. I guess that really sums up a lot of recent remakes and sequels though, doesn't it? There's a great quote from James Cameron himself that describes the challenges in making a sequel to a classic film. The most obvious problem is, how do you beat a classic? You have to really dig deep into the bag of tricks and come up with some good tricks, and you must do a proper homage to the original without being a mindless fan, something which is a piece of entertainment and a story in its own right. This was a quote in Fangoria magazine in 1986. A sequel to something means that there is an expectation of it having some of the elements that made the first one great. So some copy the original blandly, like Terminator 3 did, while others try so hard to undo their predecessor that it angers the fans, like Alien 3 did. Aliens and Terminator 2 do copy much of Alien and the Terminator, but they do so in a very conscious effort to bring the story full circle. In much like the same way a movie might have bookends, or repeated imagery within the same movie, they have repeated imagery from one movie to its sequel. It's like poetry, so that they rhyme, while also introducing new elements that not only make sense with established lore, but are entertaining and interesting on their own. It's a difference between a good sequel, one that is a pop culture icon that is still talked about decades later, and a bad sequel that drew a lot of criticism and controversy. Terminator 2 didn't really need to copy things like the T-1000 saying "get out," or John Connor saying "go back, go back."
I'll be back. Stay here. I'll be back.
And not every sequel to a popular movie needs to do things like that. But both Aliens and Terminator 2 build on the originals to make another classic movie.
Goodbye.